Hello, and welcome back to the Overcome Yourself podcast. As you know, I'm Nicole, and I'm so excited to be here today with Eliana. Eliana, would you please get us started by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about your business?
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. My name is Eliana, but you're very welcome to call me Ellie. I think the entire world calls me Ellie, except for my mom, especially when she's got to tell me off. So I know I've done something bad. So my name is Ellie. I'm born and bred in Italy, but I live in the wonderful southeast of England. I've been living here actually for 25 years, and I still love it despite the rain and the wind. It's a beautiful country. And I am a multidimensional intuitive coach, which sounds like a real mouthful. But what it means is that I am very passionate about helping people get in touch with their intuitive abilities and really extend their intuition and those hidden abilities into their everyday lives to basically address anything that is really close to their heart, anything that is really important, and bring harmony and resolve them with ease.
I love that. That's really powerful. And so staying true to the name of the podcast, can you tell me a little bit about your story of getting here and if you feel like you ever had to overcome yourself to get to where you are?
Yes, sure. So before I became this amazing multidimensional intuitive coach, there was a story. My goodness, was if there was a story, if you can call it a story. I was never really intuitive. I mean, I was when I was a little girl, right? Because I do remember having, visions of beings from other worlds. And I remember talking to myself a lot. Obviously, looking back now, I know I wasn't talking to myself. I was talking to spirits from other worlds, from the trees of the forest, because at the time when I was a little girl, we were living in the countryside. So the woods for me was my resting place. I loved it. I would be there any minute of the day, any chance I got. I would just leave the house, finish my homework, and go spend time in the woods and just rest with with the spirit world there. But years later, I basically turned away from my abilities because I was seriously bullied at school. And I was very shy as a child. I've always been very, very timid, right? But I never felt alone because to me, talking to the spirit world was like, it was great because I thought we are never truly alone. But because I was talking to myself, so to say, a lot, and, children at school were very ferocious. So I was getting bullied a lot. They were making fun of me. And being me, I was very sensitive. So I became even more of an introvert. And so eventually I figured out when I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, that perhaps it was time that I stopped talking to myself, in inverted commas, and actually started behaving like a proper child. So I said goodbyes to my intuition. I said goodbye to that feeling that I had in my heart. And I started doing my very best to try and fit in with the other children, and then later on fit in with the other teenagers, and then later on fit in with the adults. So I spent most of my teenage years, most of my 20s and 30s, try to fit in. So as you can imagine, that was a very difficult journey for me, because
Exhausting.
it is, but trust me, I mean, exhaustion for me doesn't even begin to tell the story. But the problem is, and I was doing really great, right? I was the perfect actress. All the world's a stage, said a very famous playwright once upon a time. And I was a living example of it. And the trouble was that although I appeared to do so well for myself, to have this great job in the city of London, to have this fantastic life outside of work, partying all the time, drinking all the time, spending so much time with the other boys and girls in my sports club, competing. I was living life in the fast lane. I mean, what more could I possibly ask? And then this all ended in 2012. And the world really came crashing on my head, on my shoulders, when I became really, really ill. And that was the end of this fairy tale, this illusion that I had been living most of my life. And so, as you can imagine, I didn't see it coming, because to me at that time, black was black, white was white. And there was no way anyone could have convinced me that there were any shades of gray or any shades of other colors, right? So I didn't see it coming. And most of all, I just couldn't accept it. So I went straight away into a severe form of depression that actually led me to become suicidal. And all I wanted to do was to end the pain, to end the isolation, because the one thing I can remember, because I was so afraid of being alone, I wanted to do anything I could just to spend time with others, just to be in the company of others. And so when I became very ill, all of my so-called friends disappeared. Everyone that I thought had been very supportive, everyone had disappeared. And so I found myself spending so many hours on my own. And again, I just couldn't bear it. So I became very depressed. And you reach the so-called rock bottom when you say to yourself, even if I'm not around, people are not going to miss me. It won't make any difference if I'm not around. People won't even remember my name in next week or next month. And obviously that was an illusion as well, because my mother loves me to bits, so she probably would have crushed herself. Some of my very good friends, they actually were still around through my illness and through my depression, so they would have missed me as well. But when you are in that state, all you can think about is your own pain, how much you suffer. And the fact that you didn't see it coming is even worse, because again, you're so worried about understanding how you got there that nothing else matters. And so, I had a choice: either go with the plan A rather, which is take my own life, or create a plan B. And then one day I remember I was watching daytime television, because let's not forget that I was signed off from work. My right arm was completely paralyzed. I couldn't move it. So my doctor was basically doing the paperwork to sign me off as disabled. So that's it. That's another label on top of depression and suicidal that added to my, to my state of being at the time that was far from glamorous. But one day I was watching television, I was trying to numb myself by watching silly shows on Netflix. And I come across this movie, a cheesy movie, if you want to call it like that. This Demi Moore movie, G.I. Jane. And, there is a recurring poem by D.H. Lawrence. It's a very short poem in that movie. And now I'm a bit paraphrasing it, but it says something like, I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself. I never saw a bird fall from the sky and feel sorry for itself. And obviously that got me thinking, because I thought, wow, that's exactly what I'm doing. All I do during the day is just feel sorry for myself. And that's all I can think of. But that got me thinking, because there's a scene in that movie also when the lady and all the other Navy SEALs are doing this really intense, painful training. And this Master Chief says to this lady, do you know what the best part of pain is? And she says, no, sir, I have no idea. I'm sure you're going to explain this to me in a minute. And he says, the best part of pain is that it lets you know that you are alive, that you're in this life. And so I know something from somewhere was trying to speak to me, But because again, I was so stuck in my own 3D reality of me being sorry and nothing else matters, I still couldn't understand what the message was. And so I thought, okay, I can hear a voice, but I have no idea what it is, or I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with it. Please tell me what it is. And then a couple of days later, right, listen to this, I decided to take up meditation. Now, I had never meditated in my whole life, right? I didn't even know what meditation was. So I remember I went on YouTube and I just going through the various meditation videos, right? And I picked one. And obviously the voice of the lady was very soothing. And during the meditation, something amazing happened to me. I had this vision of myself being, I think, 15, 20 years younger, sitting in a room, and I see this beautiful light expanding from my body, moving beyond my body, like in a shape of this beautiful bubble, radiating this beautiful light in the room. And then something from outside coming towards that bubble of light and crashing it back into my body violently. And the light disappears. So I got out of that, meditative state right away. And I knew that I was looking at some other breadcrumb, some other message from somewhere or someone. And it took me a couple of weeks to make sense of that, because again, after that, I went to do another meditation with another video on YouTube. And I realized then what the message was. The message was that, yes, I had this beautiful light within me, but for some reason, at some point in my life, I had consented from something outside of me to crash it back in, to dim it, to make it disappear. And for me, there was a massive realization of how I had led my life, what I'd done with my life, what I decided or not decided to do. And of course, at that point, I was still very depressed, and I was regretting what I'd done in the past 20, 25 years especially after I saw that vision, right? But then all of a sudden I had this realization, and I thought, oh, okay. So maybe if I did this to myself, maybe there's a way I can undo it, and maybe I can reverse it. And that's when something really opened up inside of me. And then I started looking for, alternative healing, because throughout my disability, I was going to see a friend of mine who was a very good herbalist, right, in treating me for my blood condition with alternative medicine. And he was the one that suggested how to completely heal by opening up to energy healing. And obviously at that point, I remember looking at him and I said, look, no offense, thank you very, very much, but I think this is really just a bunch of BS. Really, I'm not interested. But after that vision, and then after doing another couple of meditations, I remembered these words. So I'm going on the internet, and I found these energy healers that had come from Russia. Well, they came from Russia by the way of Germany. And they were doing a course in West London, not too far away from me, just a few days later. So I thought, okay, what a coincidence, right? Because at that time, I only believed in coincidences. So I thought, right, let's sign up. It was a weekend training. Many people there were therapists. They were practicing already other healing modalities. I was the only one that actually went in with some serious emotional and physical trauma. So I was completely out of my depths. But I went in, left Sunday night thinking, God, this is such a bunch of BS. And my head was full of information. I mean, honestly, I couldn't keep up with half of the stuff they said. But the one thing they had said to me was, go in when you use these techniques as if you were a baby, like a little girl or a little boy. You have to go in with the mind of a child. And then, of course, I went back to my normal life, back in the next Monday and Tuesday. still really with my arm, really aching, unable to use it. And I thought, well, you know what the heck? Let's try and use some of those techniques that I've learned, during the training. Worst case scenario, I can always throw away the handout, and I go back to doing what I do best, which is feeling depressed. So I started using the techniques, and that was a breakthrough for me, another breakthrough, because I didn't see any changes right away. But within 2 to 3 days, my arm started feeling lighter, and I could move my fingers and my hand again. And I thought, okay, coincidence, it's got to be a coincidence. So I tried the exercise again a couple of times. And so this is going into the following week. And then the following week, I did something really amazing. I dropped something on the floor because, again, I was only using one arm mainly. And I went to pick it up with the arm that wasn't working. And I hadn't done that in months. And when I picked it up and put the stuff on the floor on the kitchen counter, I thought, oh my God, I just couldn't believe my eyes. I just couldn't believe myself. I just couldn't believe in what happened just now. And I thought, okay, I am tapping into something extraordinary here that I need to explore. And then I went back to the trainers. I asked more. I started training with them and other people that were at the course as well. And then I realized that, the power had always been inside of me, that I wasn't getting called out by anyone or any other being outside of me. It was that voice inside of me that had told me, yes, you do have the power. You got yourself up to this point with these emotions, with these feelings, with these beliefs, but there is nothing stopping you from changing all of that if you want to. If you truly believe in yourself, that you can expand, because that's all it is. It's just an expansion of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And it's about believing in the possibility that you can actually heal from within. And, I continued on. And then 4 months later, I was going back to the gym. Obviously, I wasn't going to lift weights or anything like that, but I started doing my classes with a personal trainer, and he knew what I'd been through. So obviously, he told me to take it easy. He showed me a few exercises to do, which were mainly physio exercises, if I'm being honest. But then 6 months later, again, that's when I was pumping weights, again, light weights, but that's when I started going back to my normal life. And that's really when the strength started coming back. So it has been an incredible journey. Honestly, it has been an awakening journey for me. But it made me realize there is nothing that you can't accomplish if you truly, truly trust your guts and you trust your heart, most importantly.
That's an incredible, incredible story, Ellie. I see a lot of parallels with my story. Like looking at the end and being like, is this the end, or is there fight left in me? And really deciding, like, there's something, I've got to do something, because this can't be it, right? This just can't be it. When you talked about fitting in, trying to fit in, and I watched, I don't know, I think I was watching or reading something by Dr. Brene Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her, but that's one of the things she talks about. I think it's in The Gifts of Imperfection in her book, how there's a big difference between fitting in and belonging. And we shouldn't have to fit in to belong. We should be able to belong just as we are. And so that's a powerful, powerful lesson to learn, There was something else that I wanted to talk about, but whatever, it's gone now. No, but it just a phenomenal story. I love how you were able to, how you saw that vision and then you were able to interpret it and do something with it. That was really powerful, how the light goes out and comes back in. And it was like a decision, like you had to just, to open that door, to let it out. The healing, I hurt my back when I was like, I guess like 8, 9, 10 years old. I was sitting on the front of a boat that one of my uncles was driving, and it was kind of wavy. And so the boat went up and I went up with the boat. Then the boat came down and I fell down. And I remember like I hurt my back. And I remember in that moment I couldn't breathe. I thought that was the end. That was the first time I ever thought I was dead. um, but the rest of the trip I was fine. And I remember I got in the car and I started screaming because of the pain in my lower back, right? But I was 9, and so nobody believed me. People were like, no, she just heard other people saying that she had back pain. And so I went like 20 years dealing with back pain that everybody told me didn't actually exist. And then I became a server, and I just exacerbated the problem, because I was wearing low pants, like when, because, like the 2000s people, we used to wear those really low pants. And so I'm so grateful that we rediscovered the higher, because I just want to give a shout out to like high-waisted pants. Please don't bring the other ones back. Yeah. So my apron would be there, and then I ended up hurting my back somewhere else. And I had to go on that journey of healing myself from the inside, because I went through points in my life where I didn't have money to go to doctors. And so I was literally dealing with this myself. And I remember I've done the physical therapy, I did all that stuff. And 10 years ago I got an x-ray, and I had a doctor tell me, your spine is fused together at this point. You have these 3 discs that are literally just, the bones are fused together. And then a few years ago I went and got an x-ray, and the doctors were like, no, your back looks fine. I still have pain, but there has been some improvement there. So and even the doctors don't believe me. They're like, you need to go get an MRI, because something's wrong here. Like, and so, but I believe that in all the work that I've done there, there's been some healing because of my mindset, because of everything, right? And so it's just so powerful, like that you're sharing your story of healing yourself. In my book I talk about gratitude, and one of the things that I studied about gratitude was, they've conducted studies. I don't have a direct quote, but I know that they've conducted studies with doctors, like oncologists that work with cancer patients. And like, for example, they're able to tell who's more likely to survive based on perspective. If the patient is focused on gratitude and on what they can do to heal and being in the moment, there's more likelihood that that person can heal. Where if it's doom and gloom and blah blah blah, it's just self-fulfilling prophecy. And so there is a lot of power in mindset. This is not woo-woo stuff that we're talking about here. This is science that this is science that's being proven. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And I love the story of resilience, Ellie. Like, it's so powerful. Like, the people that have been through such terrible things, like we've been through some really dark moments, and look at us here. We're like smiling together. We're talking about it, and you're like, yeah, that time I almost died, and we're like, you're laughing about it. So I don't know, there's just a beauty in it. And so now you use that strength, what you thought used to be a weakness. Another huge theme in my book, what you thought was your greatest weakness, like, oh my God, I see these people and I don't know what to do with them. And now it's turned into your greatest strength. And so that's beautiful. So can you tell me more a little bit, like, do you have a tip for our listeners out there, like your greatest tip, your best FAQ that you want to answer for us here?
So yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Nicole. I mean, just listening to you, I was like, wow, because it's funny that you mentioned your back pain, because I had the exact same thing in my lower back. First time when I was, I think, either 4 or 5, because I vaguely remember when I was walking like a cripple for days. Because again, there were those children who were older than me and they were jumping off those steps and I wanted to do the same, but I wasn't as tall as they were. So they had the body power and I didn't. And obviously I went to hurt my lower back. And then the second time again, when I was either 9 or 10, and there were again older kids jumping off this sort of, it was a kind of a small cliff. But for them, it was okay. For me, I actually felt that jolt in my lower back, like something dislodged just right there and then. And when I actually had to go and heal emotionally and physically years ago, and I said to myself, okay, enough is enough, because it doesn't matter how much physiotherapy I do, how many core strength exercises I do. It just felt like it was a placebo for something else that I hadn't addressed at the core. So when I went in the area, and that's why I love working with the body at the energetic level. So I actually went in the vertebra and I said, what do you need? Show me what I need to see. And guess what the message was? What? That I just wanted to fit in with the other children. Didn't matter if I had to jump off a bridge and kill myself, because I didn't know how to swim at that point either, but I would have done it just so that I could be with them, be part of a group. And this is it. I mean, when you were talking about resilience, in terms of, you know, the difference between belonging and wanting to fit in is key here, because this is how you build resilience. And it's about understanding, taking the time to go in your heart and understanding how you're giving your power away, how you're giving your energy away, in what context, in what situation, and then why do you decide to do that? Because I do firmly believe that our entire existence and the cosmos is built on consent. We consent to come here and have this experience. We consent to have certain experiences in our lives that, you know, for better or worse, right or wrong as they might be, that's what we decide to do because they shape our lives. You know, this is how we decide to experience our lives and grow into the next experience. And so it is important to really understand, to take the time and to understand how we are giving that energy away to someone or to something, because it could be that you're giving your energy away. I don't know, you work for a company, you give all your energy away to that company, to that corporation, to your clients, I don't know, to that project, right? So it's not a person. And then what is it left for you? And the bigger question is, why do you decide to do that? Because there's nothing wrong with giving the energy away, but it's about learning to keep that balance between when you give your energy away and when it's time to, you know, shut down and reboot and take
Absolutely.
it easy. And there's nothing wrong. And for me, that was one of the number one things. I was always afraid of saying to other people what I needed, because I was so fixated on conforming and fitting in that it never occurred to me that I had to express myself and say to others, hello, my needs are not met. This is what I need. That was like the least of the things that I wanted to say to people, because again, I didn't want to be considered controversial. And most of all, I wanted to be part of a group. So, you know, obviously I made bad boyfriends' decisions, bad husbands' decisions, bad friends' decisions, and, you know, all that follows with it.
Preaching to the choir.
Well, you know, it's a natural progression of our, you know, of our inner state of being and the beliefs that we have about ourselves.
I just want to point out that we have both made the conscious effort of expanding our networks, of meeting new people. And I think that just us having this conversation is a testament to how our vibrations have changed, because now we're attracting each other, right? And so we're on a whole different level. So yeah, you could be down in the dumps, like we've been there before. It's incredible, the people that I interview, the things that we've been through, the things that you guys have been through. It's incredible. And then that we're here, and that we use those things and we turn them into something good. And so it's mind-blowing. Like I've written about this, and it's still like captivating when I speak to someone. I'm like, man, you've lived this, like, and so I think that's beautiful. Now, how can we hang out with you, Ellie? How can we stay in touch? Do you have a freebie or something that we can sign up for?
Absolutely. So my webpage is called Light Frequencies. Lightfrequencies.co.uk.
Okay.
Right, because I'm in this beautiful part of the world.
And all the links she mentions are going to be in the show notes or in the comments, depending on where you're watching this. Okay.
So obviously you can see a little bit more about what I do, and you can read a little bit more about my history, which obviously we talked about today. So you're welcome to go through the pages, and you'll also find a page where you can get yourself a nice, I think it's about 12 or 13-minute long concentration exercise. It's not so much of a meditation, it's more of a concentration exercise to clear your vision of the future. All right. So you're going to be working with the light of vision, which is one of my favorite friends, one of my favorite guides, one of my favorite light frequencies, because that's who I work with, the light frequencies. And that is going to help you really connect to your sensitivity when your inner voice, that inner guidance that you have, because I'm a firm believer that no matter where you come from, no matter what you've done in your life, what you've been through, we all have the same ability. There is no one that is born with that ability, and other people that haven't been born with that ability. If they say they haven't, it's simply because they haven't had the chance to practice that thing. So, but it's never too late to pick them up. So go on my webpage and go in the gifts section, and that's where you will find the light of clarity and vision to build your future. And then obviously from there, if you want to stay in touch, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and I will share with you more tips and ideas to boost your intuition. And obviously, you're welcome to be part of my world.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. So do you have any final words here before we take off?
Yes. A final word would be for me, when you're in doubt, when fear takes over, when panic takes over, and stress. I don't like the word stress, because to me, I believe that underneath stress, there is fear somewhere there lurking. But when you're in that state where you can't see things with focus, you don't have that clarity within you, you don't have that inner calmness, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to stop and put your hand on your heart and ask the heart what it needs. And then, you're welcome to work with me, and I will show you how to do it in a way that I will get that ability out of you. And then, once I get it out, you never want to look back. But for now, ask the heart what it needs. Do not be afraid to have that conversation, that inner conversation, that chat with your heart. Pause, take your time. No one's going to run after you. No one is going to come after you for saying to the world, stop for a minute. I need to have that chat, that conversation with my inner self, with my heart, before I say yes or no, or thank you very much, maybe another time. Because that is your true best friend. So people will tell you differently, social media will tell you differently, but ultimately that inner voice within you is the one that wants you to succeed. So you have the power within you to change your life, to switch your frequency, and it's never too late to do that. I'm living proof. I am living proof that if I can, so can you.
We both are. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. This has been absolutely wonderful. And so we will see you on the World Wide Web.
Looking
Thanks
forward.
so much, guys. See you next
Thank
time.
you. Bye.